On today's Wednesday morning drive, I can't believe you didn't know that, noob. Hey everyone, Matt Cribbs here, and welcome to another Wednesday morning drive. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty well. It's been a good week. I've been busy with all sorts of stuff. Getting work done, playing some Overwatch, doing some videos and all of that. But this morning, while I was, waking up in the bathroom, kind of sitting down, doing some stuff, I was reading Reddit. And what did we do before cell phones? We read the backs of shampoo bottles and old magazines that we had read 80 times before when we were in the bathroom. It was a horrible life. But anyway, we have cell phones now. I was browsing Reddit, and I happened upon a thread where this guy, they were talking about, and it's not really important what they were talking about. They were talking about assigning a static IP address to a device on your network. And, this one guy this one person had put a post and basically said something that was not right. Said you had to do it, assign a local static IP address to the device. And, that was at the bottom of a thread, and there were all sorts of downvotes on the post. It was, lots and lots of downvotes and no reply. And that kind of, got me thinking about something that's been happening. I notice quite a bit. I work in technology, right? And wow, this is a blind corner. I cannot really see if there's a car coming around this corner. So, I work in technology, and I have specialized speaking skills. I have specialized knowledge. I know things because of what I do and the education I've gone through and the things I've learned. And I know these things that are not necessarily common knowledge. Like, I know how web pages work from the code. I know how servers work. I know, C. I know Java. I know embedded systems. I'm an electrical engineer. I know the hardware. Not, of course, as much as a full hardware person, but I know these things. And not everyone else does. But I learned this stuff. I learned it over time. And I think, that's what we forget. So what happens is, these things, about a game. This is something actually you can see for yourself if you look back at my early Lineage videos. I started that game knowing absolutely nothing. I still know, as far as the overall metagame is, nothing. I have not read about that game. I haven't learned about it. I haven't, tried to see how it works. And that's on purpose, because the whole point of that video of that series is me learning the game. It is me starting from absolutely zero. I knew the name of it to wherever I end up. And I will learn things. I will have some skill. Whether I'll ever be good or not, that's not the point. It's the journey to get there. But if you look at those early videos, you can see people, commenting. And the great thing about the Lineage 2 community is the fact that, when people came and say this, a ton of people jumped up to my defense and said the same things. Yes, I was a noob. And yes, there were things that I did horribly wrong. And there were things I didn't know. But you know what? Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody. And it's hard to remember what it was like when you started, especially if you've been doing something for a while. If you've been playing this game for a while, or if you've been doing this craft for a while, or if you've been reading, this book for a long while. If you've been playing Pokemon for years and you meet someone who just picked up Pokemon Go as their first, they're not going to know a lot of things that you just know, that you just take for granted, that you're like, duh, everybody knows that. Well, guess what? No, not everybody knows that. You didn't know that at some point. You learned it. And it's hard to remember what it was like to not know anything. It's hard to remember what it was like to be new, to really have no clue what the questions even are, and what is a good question and a bad question, or what should be obvious. And so since we have a hard time remembering that, and people come in and it seems so basically how can you not know that? It's just, that's a horrible attitude to have, to look at someone who is, another human being and dismiss them or treat them like an idiot simply because they don't know something that you know. I mean, I'm sure they know things that you don't know. Everyone has their own knowledge, and just because someone doesn't know something doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't make them an idiot. It doesn't make them, okay, it might make them a clueless newbie, but it doesn't make them a clueless newbie. Everyone has to start. And we can either take that immediate reaction, and I'll be honest, I think it's a natural human instinct to belittle people who you feel are lacking in some way, or maybe it's, I don't know what the thing is about it that makes us as human beings want to do that. Maybe we're trying to make ourselves feel better. Maybe we're trying to show off. I don't know what it is, but I do think it is a normal, natural human reaction to kind of be a jerk to someone who doesn't know something, to kind of belittle them, make them feel bad, make them, be insulting to them, and not have patience. But I think that's a horrible thing to do, because if you do that, some of those people are going to walk away, and some of those people are never going to learn. And guess what? You just lost someone who might have been interested in this thing you love, and now they don't care anymore, or they hate it because you drove them away. So, you need to make a conscious effort. And I'm trying this. I've been trying this at work. Because of these things I know in technology, people often ask me questions. They're like, can we do this? And it's very, very easy to be like, no, of course not. That's a stupid question. Well, no, it's not a stupid question, because they don't know why we can't do this. That's why they're asking. So it takes special effort, and you have to be conscious about your reactions, and you have to think about it. To when someone asks you something, instead of being like, no, or downvoting them, or calling them clueless, or saying, you're a noob, or being insulting, instead of doing that, stop and take the time to explain to them why. Why is this question they're asking seem so obvious to you? Why does this knowledge, why should they know this knowledge? Teach them this knowledge about that you have that they don't. Share it. Tell them how, assigning an IP address works on the Reddit thread. Respond to them. Don't just downvote them. Teach them about Pokemon and the different types and all of that. And yeah, I think you'll be surprised by the reaction you get, the positive reaction you get, when you just, with a very, very little effort, try to share your knowledge and try to give it to other people, as opposed to, showing off with it over other people. Because knowledge is not something that loses value when you give it away. Fine, maybe if you're a spy and you're dealing in state secrets, giving away certain kinds of knowledge might, make them less valuable. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, specific skills and knowledge. And giving away knowledge only makes everyone stronger. It makes you appreciate the knowledge more. It actually makes you understand something more, because I think you'll learn, and I have found, and you'll find that as you try to share your knowledge, as you try to teach other people why these things are so obvious, you'll have to explain it to them. And at some point, you'll run into this thing that you say something and they don't understand. And you'll have to go back to the basics, and you'll have to explain why, what you're saying is true, or how what you're saying works, or something in more detail. And in explaining this fact that you've glossed over because it's just there, you'll understand more about that bit of information you're trying to teach someone else. You'll learn more about it. You'll learn sometimes just as much about what you're explaining as the person you're explaining it to. You'll understand things at a deeper level. And that just makes everyone better. And who knows? someday they'll teach you something. Maybe someday they'll learn something that you don't know and teach it to you. So, you know, it's been bugging me for a while. And actually, I do have to say, Tested, again, I do listen to that podcast quite often. They have a new member, Simone, I think is her name. And on I think it was one of the Adam Savage Still Untitled podcasts, they were talking about this exact same thing. And so that brought it up to mind. And it hit me a couple times as I've been, you know, trying to be a more collaborative person at work. And this morning it just, you know, seeing this Reddit thread hit it off. So it's been on my mind, been kind of percolating back there for a little bit, but, you know, wanted to talk about that with you. Hope you agree, and I hope you'll take this approach and try to apply it to your own life. Let me know how it goes. You know, share in the comments. Anyway, have a great week. Share something, teach someone something, and I'll see you next week. Later. Bye.